The lights come up, the applause swells, and Johnny Carson leans back behind that desk like he always does, relaxed, in control, untouchable. But there were nights when even Johnny couldn't hide what was happening. Nights when the couch beside him felt cursed. Nights when the laughter never arrived, and the names tied to those moments still echo. Decades later, take Andy Kaufman. Brilliant, unpredictable. But on The Tonight Show, his appearances often felt like endurance tests. He would sit there in silence, refuse to tell jokes, argue with the audience, or perform bits that seemed designed to punish anyone expecting comedy. Johnny tried to play along, but the crowd grew restless. Was Kaufman playing a joke on America, or was he daring them to admit they didn't understand him? Even now, people argue about whether those appearances were genius or unbearable. But one thing is undeniable: the laughs were scarce and the tension was thick. Then there was Bobcat Gold. His screaming persona divided rooms instantly. On Carson's couch, that division was brutal. His chaotic energy clashed with Johnny's smooth rhythm. Jokes landed like car crashes, loud, messy, and confusing. Johnny smiled, but you could see him waiting for it to end. Some audiences laughed nervously, others stared in disbelief. Was this comedy evolving, or collapsing in real time? Don Rickles, a legend, appeared many times, and yet not every appearance worked. When Rickles leaned too hard into insults, especially with guests or sensitive topics, the room sometimes froze. Johnny could handle it. The audience didn't always know how. The line between roast and cruelty blurred, and laughter turned hesitant. When Rickles missed, he missed loudly. One of the most uncomfortable nights involved Jerry Lewis, a giant of comedy history. But by the time of certain appearances, something felt off. Long-winded stories with no punchline, defensive remarks, an edge beneath the humor. Johnny attempted to steer the conversation, but Lewis seemed more interested in proving something than entertaining. The audience sensed it. This wasn't fun. It was strained. Was this a man battling his own legacy on live television? Tiny Tim was another guest who left viewers unsure how to feel. His falsetto voice, eccentric mannerisms, and surreal presence fascinated some and alienated many. On Carson's stage, his performances often felt awkward rather than amusing. The crowd clapped, but laughter rarely followed. Johnny remained polite, almost protective, but the energy never settled. Were people laughing, or simply trying to be respectful? Then there was William Shatner, charismatic, iconic, but notoriously stiff in comedic timing. His appearances were filled with dramatic pauses that went nowhere, jokes delivered like monologues, and stories that felt rehearsed yet lifeless. Johnny lobbed soft setups, hoping for levity. Shatner answered earnestly, missing the beat every time. The audience waited and waited. Did he realize comedy was happening around him? Roseanne Barr, during certain appearances, brought an abrasive tone that clashed with Carson's world. The jokes leaned confrontational. The vibe grew combative. Johnny kept things civil, but the warmth drained from the room. Some laughed, others shifted uncomfortably. Was this bold honesty, or simply not the place for it? Tom Green showed up decades later, representing a new generation of shock comedy, and it did not translate. Absurd stunts, crude humor, and an intentional disregard for structure left the audience confused. Johnny, nearing the end of his reign, looked like he was watching a foreign language being spoken on his stage. The laughs were scattered. The disconnect was complete. Was this the future or the end of something sacred? Even Joan Rivers, a frequent guest, had nights where things went wrong. When her anxiety took over, she talked too fast, over-explained jokes, and chased laughs that never came. Johnny, once her mentor, grew distant over time. Some appearances felt tense, almost sad. Two people who once clicked effortlessly, now struggling to find rhythm. Was it nerves, history, or something broken beyond repair? And then there was Andrew Dice Clay. His misogynistic, shock-heavy persona landed like a grenade. Some laughed, many didn't. Johnny challenged him subtly, pushing back with raised eyebrows and pointed pauses. The audience felt divided, unsure whether to react or recoil. Comedy turned into confrontation, and when it ended, relief washed over the room. What makes these moments unforgettable isn't that these people lacked talent. Most were icons, innovators, legends. What failed wasn't fame, it was timing, chemistry, and vulnerability under the harshest lights imaginable. Johnny Carson didn't humiliate them. He didn't attack. He let the silence speak. And sometimes, that silence said more than any joke ever could. So when we ask who the most unfunny guests Johnny Carson ever had, maybe we're really asking something else. What happens when performance meets pressure? When reputation walks into a room that demands authenticity? When even the greatest host alive can't save the moment? And if laughter can vanish that quickly, how fragile was it to begin with?